my name is Sydney. Welcome to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I've done a video on this channel, and it's also been a hot minute since I've got my nails done. Don't look. Ooh, scandalous. But I really wanted to come on here and do a last little fun recap video for what I read in 2023. I am recovering from the flu that took over everybody's life around, Christmas 2023. So bear with me. I'm still a little under the weather, but I'm gonna try and get through this. Also, I love tier ranking videos. I have been watching them nonstop while I've been sick. So I'm gonna do my own tier ranking video. All right, this is my list. I think it's either 29 or 30 books that I read this year, but in no particular order, somewhat particular, but also not. I tried to keep the series at least close to each other. Obviously, it's a tier ranking video, so I have to go through the different categories. Starting at the top, we have my reading Roman Empire. It's basically as it sounds. I literally cannot stop thinking about these books, or it just sporadically will pop into my head, and I just can't stop fixating on them. Next up is that viral TikTok sound that's going around, and it's like the ha 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 again. These are books that I would reread, maybe not at the drop of the hat, but I would reread them. I really enjoyed them. They were amazing. I wish I could experience them again for the first time. Then we have the middle, which is our neutral zone, and that is just happy to be here. I'm glad they're on the list. I'm glad I read them. Or it's done. They're cool. Fine. They can go here. Then we have, wait, I read this? This can mention all the books that I genuinely didn't remember that I read this year. And then last but certainly not least, we have why. Just why. Why did I read this? Why did someone write this? Why was this something that took up my time in 2023? Now, without further ado, let's get to ranking. Starting out strong, we have Once Upon a Broken Heart. The last book that I read in 2022 was Finale. So this was genuinely the first book that I read this past year, 2023. I absolutely loved Caraval and Legendary and Finale. I loved that universe. Stephanie Garber's writing is just so whimsical and immersive. I think, man, I really liked Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I'm gonna put her in Just Happy to Be Here. Absolutely no qualms with Once Upon a Broken Heart. It was a great book. It felt a little childish compared to Caraval, but I think maybe it's just because we were following a protagonist that was a lot, softer demeanor-wise. Next up, we have Icebreaker. And hot take, I'm kind of surprised that I read this. I don't want to say I skimmed, but I tried and I didn't get the hype. I'm still going to give Wildfire a chance, and Daydream looks to die for. I really loved Henry, and the main character of Daydream is a Swiftie apparently, so that book is getting read. It's on my TBR. Icebreaker itself, I loved the concept, but I feel like it didn't focus on the actual sport. As somebody who watches couples figure skating for leisure and was obsessed with spinning out, I thought there was going to be more detailed action in the sports, if that makes sense. Next up, we have The Silent Patient by, I can't even pronounce his last name, but his name is Alex. Hot take, I'm looking through this list and I'm wondering if there is another book on this list with a male author, and there's not. This is the one and only book that I read this year that was written by a man. And I'm gonna say, do I want to put it in Just Happy to Be Here? I'm gonna put her in Just Happy to Be Here because I read this book and I did not anticipate the plot twist that was happening. Maybe I am a simple creature, easy to be entertained. I don't read a lot of mystery or thriller, but I had heard so many good things. The cover is actually why I bought it. I thought the cover was very intriguing. It reminded me of The Secret History a little bit, but I hadn't read that yet. This one felt less intimidating. And when the plot twist happened, I was like, oh my gosh, 4.5 stars, so good. Now I would probably give it about 3.5. I don't know. I don't remember much besides the plot twist. All right, next up, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. That's going straight to my reading Roman Empire. Fun fact, this was my first Emily Henry read. And I know that people who have read other books by her wouldn't put it this high, but I really love a gut-wrenching read. I loved the setting that was in this book. I loved the emotional dilemma that these characters were facing. I feel like this was like a new form of fake dating because it was like they were already broken up, but they had to like pretend to still be together kind of deal. The setting was just so nostalgic for me as somebody who grew up on the lake and going to the lake with my family. Man, it was just so good. I can't wait to read more Emily Henry. I am a little bit through Beach Read, but I put it down because another book released and, you know, time just gets away. Funny Story is going to get all of my money, and I want to read all of the other books before it comes out. So we'll see if I do that. All right, these next 2 or 3, I reread the Hunger Games series the moment that the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes trailer dropped. I read the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes when it came out in May of 2020, consumed it in a day. It was the pandemic. I had nothing to do. So good. As a Slytherin and a lover of villain origin stories, I was obsessed. Also, I am obsessed with the Hunger Games. I rewatched those movies probably 3 times a year, but I hadn't read the book in a long time. So, with that being said, the Hunger Games book, again, I loved going back to that universe, even though it's a bit bleak. I loved getting to remind myself why I fell in love with PETA on top of like movie PETA. Fun fact, I actually read the Hunger Games for a like scholars program that my school did in 7th grade. And so when I read the Hunger Games the first time, I had to approach it analytically because I had to write a lot of papers on it. But now getting to read it just for fun, loved it. Absolutely loved reading the Hunger Games again. As far as Catching Fire, that's also going in again. PETA was so charming. All of the like inner workings of the revolution were starting. Obviously, this is like the OG we're starting a revolution book. So I was having the time of my life. And then we have Mockingjay. And I'm gonna drop her in weight. I read this. I pretty much skimmed this book because I knew the heartache that I was in store for, and I just didn't want to linger there. Still a great book, still a great read. I just didn't want to dwell on it for too long because that was in April or May, and I was just kind of going through it. I was in a job that wasn't making me happy. I was looking for another job. That book didn't make me feel better in my free time. So Mockingjay is down there. All right, The Ballad of Never After. That is going straight to my Reading Roman Empire. Stephanie Garber served you know what in The Ballad of Never After. Everything that I was like, Once Upon a Broken Heart was so good, but where is the pizzazz? The pizzazz was The Ballad of Never After. Holy mother of God. I need to reread it. Literally just that one. It is so good. It was one of the most gut-wrenching endings I've read in a book in a long, long time. 5 stars automatically. In fact, I'm going to move that before Happy Place. It's just, wow, so good. All right, the next book on my tier is called The Fall of Jericho. And I don't know if you can see the name of that author, but that's me. That's my book. Am I kind of cheating by putting it on this tier? Absolutely. Do I give a rat's ass? Not a single bit. When you write a book, you have to remind yourself that you are going to end up reading it probably 8,000 times. And considering how long that book is, you can pre-order it now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Shameless plug. I could probably tell you that book inside and out. She's obviously going in my Reading Roman Empire. I'm not going to put it first just because it's mine. I'm not going to outrank the books that like I love so much. In fact, I'm going to move Happy Place in front of it. But she's my Roman Empire because she's all I do in my spare time when I'm not reading. I write her and I edit her and I proofread her and I promote her on my social medias at author Sydney Applegate. Basically, if you've never heard about this book before, let me do a quick shout out. It is a dual point of view, enemies to lovers. You can read it as a standalone, but it's part of a duology, Sleeping Beauty retelling, narrated by the villain. Need I say more? I know I'm tropes marketing, but like that's pretty much the gist. Like, I don't want to spend too long talking about the synopsis of the whole thing, but here she is. I love her. She comes out in a month. Look how thick she is. That's all I'll say. Give it a shot, please. I love you. It's also going to Kindle Unlimited. So if you are a KU reader, be sure to add this to your TBR and into your library. All right, the next one that I have is called Night Shift by Annie Crown. It was an ARC copy that I got off of NetGalley. It was the first ever ARC that I got to read by someone, and it was just darling. When you read on NetGalley though, as soon as it releases, it goes away. And so I need to go buy a physical copy. So therefore it's going in, again. I'm gonna put it in front of the Hunger Games books though, because it was so wonderful and lovely. I can't wait to see her write more things. All right, as you can tell from this lineup, I'm entering my hockey era. Listen, Icebreaker did not do it for me the way that it was doing it for other people. And then I found the deal. I saw it at Target and I was like, okay, people talk about it. They love hockey. This looks like an OG book because the cover looks old. It's not like a cartoon cover. So I was like, I'm gonna give this a shot. Maybe this was ahead of the hype. And it was. Daddy Garrett Graham was unreal. So I'm gonna say, again. I'm gonna put her right there. I loved this book. I loved that it handled a topic that a lot of people shy away from, and it's even mentioned on the first page. She handled it really well. Elle Kennedy, I think, did a really good job. There was some language in there that felt a little misogynistic. Otherwise, I really enjoyed myself. Continuing on, we have The Mistake. I'm gonna say, wait, I read this? I think I was just in like that post-deal slump. It just didn't hit. And so I was like, I kind of just burned it out of my mind, minus like the really cute ending and the beginning, like the very beginning. They're meet cute and the ending. Everything else in the middle, I can't tell you what happened. I just don't remember. Now, the score, that's going in my Reading Roman Empire. I loved Allie and Dean so much. I knew from book 1 that I was gonna love Dean De Laurentiis. So that's all I'll say about that. Hell yes, that book was so good. And then we have The Goal. Listen, I do not vibe with accidental pregnancies at all. But The Goal, it was written so cute. I was like giggling. Also, when I read that his name was John Tucker, I was a little suspicious because of John Tucker Must Die. But John Tucker? And he's a ginger? Listen. He had 2 strikes against him from the get-go. And yet, again! All right, and then we have The Legacy, and I'm gonna put that under, wait, I read this? This was like the A Court of Frost of Starlight for hockey romances. Like, it was just them celebrating and having life accomplishments and other fun things, and it was cute. It was a casual read. But then, oh, and then, The Graham Effect came out. The Graham Effect was so damn good. I had so much fun reading The Graham Effect, getting to see Daddy Garrett Graham as a daddy. One of my favorite lines in the whole book was like, a character was meeting the parents and Hannah was like, you may call me Hannah, and Garrett goes, and you may call me Mr. Graham. It made me giggle. I had so many physical reactions to this book. It's gotta go in my Reading Roman Empire. It was just amazing. I had a blast. Next up, we have Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I'm going to say why, just why, only because it felt very cringy. I still enjoyed the book. I read it to completion. However, the singing made me feel a little weird. But also, I felt like the stakes were way too high for a contemporary novel. It just felt very jarring. And so I'm gonna leave that there. Please don't crucify me in the comments. To each their own. In fact, I'm in the middle of reading King of Wrath and I love it. So don't knock it till you try it. Next up, we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Holy mother. It was so good. I'm putting in my again. It was amazing. I loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I was dragging my feet so hard on reading this book. And finally, one of my friends beat me to reading it, and she's not a reader. And I literally had like a wake-up call moment where I was like, what is wrong with you? Read this book now. And I did, and I loved it. Okay, then we have Twisted Games. Twisted Games, I'm gonna say just happy to be here because I liked it. However, I did not like it enough to continue the Twisted series, which, before you come for my throat, let me just say, I've heard and I've been warned about something that happens in Twisted Hate, And for that reason, I'm not gonna read Twisted Hate. However, a friend of mine is really working hard to convince me to read Twisted Lies. And considering who shows up in King of Wrath, I think I'm gonna have to, because there was a plot point that gets dropped in King of Wrath that apparently happens in Twisted Lies. And now I'm intrigued. So I'll probably read Twisted Lies. Don't think I'll be reading Twisted Hate. But I loved the Princess Bodyguard trope. I liked that a lot. The Costa Rica trip. Whoo, wow. Moving on. Take Me to Your Best Friend's House by Seta J. Why? Just why? I learned from reading this book in advance that there are certain kinks that people read about that I do not need to touch with a 39.5-foot pole. I really felt disgusting reading the book. I felt like I needed to go to church after I read this book. And it was not a long book. I read it all because it was an arc and I agreed to leave a review. And in my review, I was very careful about saying, like, you would probably rank it this many stars if you were into this, this, and this. As someone who is realizing I am not into that, it's gonna be a 1 or 2 star rating from me. I saw the title and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that song by Group Love. I love Tongue Tied, absolutely. But it's the fact that the friend knew that her friend was getting with her father. Then we have Pestilence. This was originally going to be in Just Happy to Be Here, but I have to say, over the last week, it's gotta go in Why Just Why. I did enjoy the book to an extent. I think as a girly who grew up in church and still goes to church, the end times is what pulled me in. Because if you've ever read the Book of Revelations, it is some scary ass shit. It's terrifying. I do not want to be here in the end. I don't. Like, bye. Also, the things that this dude was doing to our main girl, ew. Why was I sitting there like, they're enemies to lovers though, so they'll fall in love. Which, I mean, yeah, they did, but it was rocky for a while. Like, it felt like there was no forward momentum for at least 2/3 of the book. And it was just very bleak and not joyful. So that's why I'm going to put it in there. I am trying to read the next book just to give it a chance. I know that the author has written other amazing works, but that's why it's in this level of the tier. Then we have Daisy Jones and the Six, and that is skyrocketing to my reading Roman Empire. It was so good. Also, the limited series, amazing. I hosted watch parties for it. I loved it. Daisy Jones and the Six, like the cast recording, they made it into my Spotify Wrapped, like slot 3. So good. I loved that the book was written in like an interview style. Absolutely phenomenal. She ate and left no crumbs. I will take no criticism on this book. Then we have The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. Me and my friend Alyssa bought this book because of the art that was in the book. If you know, you know. I thought it was gonna be fantasy. Maybe it's because it reminded me of The Cruel Prince. It's not, it's a mafia romance. I will say, considering what I've heard about mafia romances, because I don't read them, this was one of the tamest. And truth be told, I read this book really fast. So I'm gonna say I am happy to be here. I enjoyed the characters. It was great. Cool. Moving on. Oh my gosh. We've got Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I go see her this weekend at a signing. Absolutely my Roman Empire. So breathtakingly beautiful in the writing style. I understand why a lot of people say that it's a very elementary concept or that they don't care about the characters or the world building like loses them. But I have also heard that if you loved Fourth Wing, you may not like Divine Rivals and vice versa. And I think for that reason, it hit so hard. It was beautiful. I loved the characters. I really bonded with them. Roman Kit is probably my favorite book boyfriend, hands down. I said what I said. Then we have A Win-Win Situation by M. Pamela. If you haven't heard of this book, you're gonna die because it was so good. I got to read it in the beta/arc stage because she and I actually share an editor. And first of all, I need to talk about the incredible feat of the fact that English is not her first language and she wrote an entire novel. Not only that, but the novel gripped me. I was reading it in freaking Google Docs. Do you know how hard it is to read something in Google Docs? It feels like reading an academic essay. And yet, I devoured. Left comments all over the place like, what is going on? Hello, this is incredible. And for that reason, I'm gonna say ha 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 again because I guess I'll just put it in the back because I need to stop like moving it around. I'm going to have this when it comes out, and I will probably see if she can sign it somehow. It was really good. You should really go pre-order it. It's on Goodreads, and you can pre-order it as well, but it was damn good. You need to read it. Also, as somebody who's always wanted to live abroad or study abroad, having it be in an abroad setting, I got to live vicariously through it. It comes out on Valentine's Day. Treat yourself and get a copy of this book, and mine, because mine comes out the day before. Then we have A Curse for True Love, and hot take, this one is going in Why Just Why? Only because it was disappointing for me. I just felt like I was left hanging. There's a lot of mystery surrounding what we got, and so I didn't hate it. I was just very let down. So like, why? Just why? Like, I could have just stopped at the Ballad of Never After, and then that would be that. That would be painful, but still. And then we have Ruthless Vows. Oh my gosh. Listen, I want to put this in my Reading Roman Empire. However, because for spoilers, just quick spoilers, so, you know, fast forward 10 seconds, because of how little they actually got to spend together physically in their presence, I'm going to have to put it in ha 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 again. It was amazing though. I absolutely adored this book. And again, her writing style comes out on top. Before we get into what everybody wants to know, let's talk about Done and Dusted. I'm going to put that in, wait, I read this because it was my first cowboy romance, and I think I read it really fast amidst a massive TBR, and I'll talk about why in just a second, because now it's time for what everybody else has been waiting for me to say, and that is tier ranking Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Starting strong, we're gonna go with Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is definitely part of my Reading Roman Empire. I would say ha 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 again, but I think because I noticed immediately how similar it was to Divergent. It was like reading Divergent, but with dragons. I know a lot of people compare it to Sarah J. Maas books. However, I totally felt the nods to Divergent. Like, even the plot arc was the exact pacing of Divergent, just for an adult audience. It was really good. I loved it. It felt like I was 13 again, and I adored it. I said what I said. I know a lot of people don't like it. I understand why they don't like it, but I think for nostalgia's sake, it really stuck with me, so I liked it. However, we have Iron Flame. Iron Flame is going in why. Just why. I skimmed the last 150 pages probably. I saw the twist and the ending coming a mile away. I understand why people are freaking out. The fact that I guessed it and it happened at the end and I barely even bat an eye, I don't know. It was way too long. There was no reason for it to be longer than the first Crescent City book. There was absolutely no reason. So many things could have been pruned from this book. There were so many unnecessary parts that I was just like, are you kidding me? That's probably why Done and Dusted, I didn't even remember that I read, because I was fighting for my life after Iron Flame. And I was so disappointed by Iron Flame that I was like, why on God's green earth would I pick up a book after this? Like, I was just really disappointed. I want to have hope that the next books are going to be good, but morale is pretty low around here. But ta-da! That is my final tier ranking list of all the books that I read in 2023. If you're still here at the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up because it helps the algorithm, and hit subscribe down below because I'm going to be focusing more on strictly book content in the year ahead. Again, if you're feeling generous, if you feel like reading a really good book about enemies to lovers, true enemies to lovers, and you like Sleeping Beauty and you want to support me, you can go pre-order my book, The Fall of Jericho, on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And if you're a KU reader, I will catch you on February 13th when you add it to your library. Once more, my name is Sydney. I make YouTube videos whenever I have the strength and willpower to do so, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, you guys.